You know, I do dirty jokes and inappropriate stuff. Unbeknownst to me, this was a talent show for kids. And no one told me this. That one video, Australia in 2 minutes, went really viral. Come home from my Uber shift, it's like all these haters trying to hate on me. I was refreshing it, it's just going up and up and up. These people are double taking. Everyone's looking at me. I get to the city, all these people are like, oh, is that the guy who did that? That's the guy who did that video. And overnight fame.
I made a sex noise at the Australian Open in 2018.
Oh, yeah!
I was in the shower and I was practicing the noise.
And his mum was probably like, I'm just gonna let him have his alone time. Do you have one instant that was the ultimate fail, where like you got on stage, no one laughed, it was awkward?
People say comedians should not be political. Well, it's very hard not to, because no matter what you make fun of, someone is gonna find a political angle for that.
They almost don't want to do stand-up comedy because everything they say can get them cancelled.
Even like looking back on my old videos, and I'm sure you do this as well, it's like, whoa, like how come I could have said that back then and I can't now? So Bayley, what's with the jeans, brother?
He's wearing his girlfriend's jeans today.
Yeah, I thought he was, eh?
Well,
I think he stayed
well,
over.
what?
He forgot
well,
his
for all
pants.
the viewers' context, it's very hard to come up with a new outfit every week.
It actually is.
I do it.
Story of my life.
Bro, I don't want to wear the same clothes every day, so now I'm going deeper and deeper into the closet. And I think it's just.
And are you going to come out of the closet soon as well?
It's just not landing, bro. So
You've obviously been on your knees doing something.
yeah, I know. So,
And that's how we know we have a comedian in the
He's
room.
got scratches on his knees.
Do you guys remember that trend a couple of years ago where there were people who basically, it was more hole than jean?
Yeah.
yeah.
What was that?
Hey, well, he started that trend.
It was.
He's just gone
He was on the
downsized.
posters.
yeah, I'm 5 years too late. So
Yeah,
What a great way to save on denim
I know.
Yes.
for the company.
100%.
That's
Is
genius.
denim made from animals or it's like vegan?
Huh?
Was denim made from animals or is it vegan?
Yeah, always
It's
vegan,
cotton,
bro.
right?
It's cotton, yeah. It's some sort of material.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it and make it
Yes.
blue.
I
But
should have known from the rice food back in China.
Anyway,
Speaking of vegan,
speaking of vegan,
Today,
Jamie,
you're not
give us an
vegan.
intro, bro.
Why'd you say speaking of vegan?
speaking of something,
Speaking of something, today's guest is a very special guest. Now, this guy, just a few stats about who we have on the episode today, guys. So, this man is one of Australia's top stand-up comedians. He has had tens of millions of views on social media. He's done sold-out world tours performing all over Australia, America, and the UK. To finish things off, he's one of Australia's most politically intelligent comedians, which is why we all love his work. So please welcome to the locker room, Neel Kolhatkar.
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome
Sorry,
to
I
the locker room,
fumbled
bro.
that last
Politically
line.
intelligent.
That's right.
That's some big words.
Well, I started with the joke about the ripped jeans, so I've got
gotta
to
say-
showcase that
yeah.
intelligence soon.
Well, there must have been a political agenda for that comment, right? So,
yeah.
Obviously, yes.
Obviously.
I'm part of the woke left, and I'm trying to ruin jeans for everyone because
Everything he
That's
says,
how we get-
guys,
that's
just be
how-
careful. Everything he says,
it could be sarcasm.
There's an agenda.
But there's an agenda.
there's always an agenda deep
Yeah.
down. I'm recording all of you guys, and I'm going to cancel all of you.
Yes,
I told you
that's
guys,
right.
this guy's
Yeah.
so well
Funding.
media trained and like punchy. So, pleasure to have
We've
you on,
already
bro.
been
Thanks for
cancelled,
having
bro.
me. Yeah,
No worries, man.
I'm
No
excited.
worries.
This is nice. What a nice place. Wow,
I know,
you.
man. I know.
beautiful.
The sun is shining. The last few days actually has been amazing weather. It almost feels like summer.
Summer's
It's
back.
skiing there, eh? In
Bro.
Sydney? Yeah. Yeah, at least not in Melbourne.
From going from like cold, rainy for weeks on end
It's been so bad.
to like beautiful weather.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
definitely.
really nice. It feels like spring. It's come early.
And
That's right.
and we're excited because obviously we have our first comedian on.
We do.
This is something that we.
Oh, wasn't I? Am I still a comedian? Or
No,
was I
no,
back
you
in
don't
the
our
day?
first real comedian.
Actually, this guy's also a comedian now.
Yeah, but I'm not a comedian. I do comedy videos.
So you, what's the difference?
He's
here? Is that-
his job is he's made it as a comedian.
okay, fine.
I
We have
just
one
make
comedian in
some
the room.
Videos that happen to sometimes.
I
be
was,
funny.
I will say I'm a stand-up comedian.
There
And
you
we have
go.
two try-hard
I'm a
comedians right here.
sit down comedian.
You're,
You're a stand up.
you're a sit-down comedian. I'm a
That's
stand-up.
Mad. So, bro, what's being a stand-up comedian actually like for the viewers out there?
And before you answer, sorry,
Let's take it all.
This
the way
guy.
back.
have you always wanted to be a stand up comedian, and how did you get into it?
So I've wanted to be a stand-up comedian since I was 15.
Wow.
So I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. I get to do it full time, and it's
made
very
it.
rare to do it full time in Australia.
Yeah.
What's it like? It's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of. It can be very up and down because you sometimes perform to tiny little crowds that hate you. You know, that's just my family, but you know. There we go.
We're already
Zing. That's actually, when we talk about comedy, that's the first joke structure.
Oh, is it?
Pull back and reveal, right? So you're saying something, and then
like
you
that.
reveal. Usually it's like a mum or a dad or something like that. So that's
Yeah,
that's
you
called a
bait and switch.
pullback. Yeah,
You
that's
lead them
the
one-
bait
you
and
lead
switch.
them one way and then
pull
bang.
back and exactly. Yeah,
I love that.
So-
Right, that's
that's
so
true.
cool.
That's
yeah, like you know, I was just naked the other day, and you know, I was getting changed, and then someone was like, "Get off the bus," and then you know, you reveal that you're actually on the bus. So that's the
Right.
first structure of joke that you learn.
Oh, I've already learned.
Dude, we're
something.
already
That's
learning
awesome.
stuff.
So
This is
that's
what we want to understand, because a lot of guys out there, obviously, they might not want to be stand-up comedians, but they want to be like funny in general, or charismatic at the same time. So
This is a tool.
This is amazing.
First 5 minutes, you've already got
Value.
some value.
there we go.
There you go. Yeah. That one. Pull back and reveal. You can
That's
Google
it.
it, and then there's different examples of it and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
were
I
you
thought you
always
meant
the funny
something
guy?
else, but
Was I was I was definitely a class clown in primary school and high school, and then
Same.
yeah, I just kind of naturally. I actually really wanted to be an actor when I was from when I was 10. I was good at performing, and I'd always get up on stage, and I just had a knack for impressions, and I usually was funny, and I loved Chris Lilly.
Oh,
so when
how
I was
good
in
was
year 8, I
he?
remember Summer Heights High came out,
Oh,
and I thought
man.
I want to do that.
That changed the game.
It did,
I
yeah.
thought it was the funniest thing. I'd watch it just every episode. I'd watch it 5, 6, 7. I still watch it. I'll still
Same.
watch it once a year. And
Yeah.
They tried to. They did cancel him.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
It's like
he's
so
still doing
crazy.
his thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So crazy.
He's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So yeah,
unfortunate.
so
But-
you looked up to Chris Lilly.
looked up to Chris Lee, looked up to Chris Rock. So anyone named Chris for
Yeah.
some
What about
reason,
this
I
guy?
just I love the Chris's. And then how did I start? I did this high school competition when I was 15. And I won the whole thing. It was like a national competition for Australia's funniest teenager.
So you
They
knew,
called it.
way.
You knew.
Yeah.
All right, I got something.
So
good
I thought
start.
that was when I thought, okay, maybe I can actually do this full time
Yeah.
now. And then from there, I finished high school, and then I took a gap year, and I actually traveled around to all the places I would love to come back to one day and do this professionally. So I did LA, New York, Montreal, London, and then I started doing a lot of open mics because there's not really a course or a degree or anything to get into stand-up
Yeah, it's all
comedy.
self-taught,
You
eh?
just got to do it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
just and I like
That's
that
so
about it.
hard.
Sometimes it's a bit sort of
daunting.
messy, and anyone and everyone can kind of get ahead. But I do like the freedom aspect of that. And I just started doing open mics, and I did pretty well. And you start getting paid gigs then, and I was making a bit of money from it. And then I could see that the internet was a great tool to build an audience even back then.
Yeah, you jumped onto that early.
And what
Yeah,
year-
I
what-
got
what
onto
year was
that.
this?
This was 2012, 2013.
You were-
Oh,
Yeah,
so you're like
yeah.
first era
Yeah.
social media.
Was that
So
before you?
before me,
Before
Bro,
me.
I remember
Yeah, yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
his
That
stuff.
was like Janoskian's era,
so
right?
long ago,
Do you know,
bro.
yeah, I came up around the same time. I mean, they just skyrocketed and became global sensations. But
Yeah.
the only people that were there before me on the internet were probably Superwog. So
Really?
Bro, he
Superwog,
was OG, I
Community
remember.
Channel, My Chonny, those sorts of guys. So,
And you know My Tony's still
geez.
going?
Yeah.
Same as Superwalk, but they post like once a year.
Yeah, but I remember seeing your stuff so early on.
Yeah,
You were,
same.
Like not to just gas you up, but you were one of the OG
OGs.
Australian comedians that
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
100%.
made it and
pretty
was
cool,
everywhere.
yeah.
You were
Yeah.
everywhere.
yeah, that was an insane couple of years because that one video, Australian 2 minutes, went really viral.
remember
So
that
what
one.
year?
Yes.
When was
And
this?
This was 2013.
That was Josh Wade era as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Josh and I sort of came up the same time.
Yep.
And that...
So did you go viral straight away from that video?
Yeah, so usually there's
Wow.
a slow build with a few videos that go semi-viral. But
Yeah.
with me, it was... I mean, I had maybe 1,000 subscribers before that. I'd done these videos, so I grew up in Cogra in that
Yeah.
area, and I did
Yeah.
this character called the Cog Dog, who's just an Indian but wannabe gangster.
Yeah.
Very relatable, right? Like,
Yeah.
man, it's so hard growing up in Cogra, man. It's the ghetto, man. You know what it is, but I come home from my Uber shift. It's like all these haters trying to hate on me.
It's almost like you're that guy that makes the videos online.
Yeah. I'm not even acting.
That's me.
Yeah.
However, you're speaking now is your alter ego, and the real voice is what you just said.
Oh, look, every Indian has a little bit of a cog dog or like
Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
Indians. We grew up on hip hop culture and
Yeah,
black
yeah.
culture, so there's a lot of that. And so I was doing these sort of videos. I'd gotten recognized once or twice in my local area, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And so then this video, Australian 2 minutes, I just thought, look, I just want to go viral. So how can I just hit every every factor in the algorithm that will help with virality. So I was very loud. I wanted to grab people's attention. I did all the different voices, and yeah, it wasn't particularly PC. And to say the least.
But there was no such thing back then either.
Yeah, I mean,
you
even
think?
back then, it was starting to creep in.
You reckon?
Yeah. I noticed it definitely got worse sort of in the mid 2010s.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there was a little bit back then. Like the comedy scene has always been, which is weird because it's comedy, but the comedy scene is very
Lefty.
very left leaning because it's a lot of Sydney uni kids and kids who do arts, and I think creative people tend to be more, just emotional and left leaning and things
But
like that.
and it was location based as well, because Australia, you targeted Australia, so everyone in Australia can relate to it at some point. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
And then I remember that night it started. I posted the video. I was then at my grandparents' house or something, and then I got this message from someone, and this person had a profile a little bit, and I looked up to them a bit, and they're like, "You need to do this with the video. Add your YouTube. Add this." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I looked at the video, and I thought, "Whoa!" It had maybe 50,000, 100,000 views in 3 hours, which back then, now that seems like nothing, right? But back then, that was
crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
And then I just saw my likes and subscribers and everything just I was refreshing it. It's just going up and up and up.
We've
and
all been there,
getting
right?
all
We've all
these
been there, yeah.
messages, getting comments, and I was just overwhelmed. And I didn't leave the house for 2 days because I was
Really?
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know what to do. And then I had a gig actually 2 days after, so I'm catching the train, and I get to the station. These people are double taking.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking at me, and then I get to the city. All these people are like, "Oh, is that the guy who did that? That's the guy who did that video." And it was so surreal because overnight fame.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't. Yeah, it was. I was quite nervous, and
Yeah, what does that feel like going
it's-
from not being known to then all of a sudden? Do you almost like look for people looking for you because you're like, because even if you're not, overnight fame, people still look at you, right? But I feel like you can just always think that people are talking about you. Did it feel weird, or did you
very
like it?
weird. No, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I liked that I had finally gotten an audience and my video was taking off. But the actual in public,
Gives you
constantly
anxiety
getting
almost as
recognized.
well.
It's what's that?
Gives you anxiety as well to an extent.
Yeah, I didn't. It took like a year or two to just get used to this, and it was just so off-putting, and I never knew what to say to people when they recognize me. But now I'm fine with it. And it's
You know, the worst thing that I find about that whole thing is, it's like, there's two sides to it. It's like, all right, how do I look to the people that are coming up to me and that are being nice to me and don't know me? And then how am I looking to the people that are with me, right? So whenever it happens in my life, I'm almost like in this double mind because I'm like, all right, I don't want to seem like I'm looking everywhere to get recognized from my friends. I don't want them to think that like I love it so much that I'm like over-exaggerating the whole thing. But then at the same time, I don't want to like sort of be like a dickhead to the people that are coming up to me. Like I want to be nice.
Yeah.
So that fine line's really, I've found that
I
quite
witnessed
awkward.
that because I've been best mates with Jamie for a while, and I saw his shift, and I was like on the sidelines seeing it, and I thought it was incredible. And then recently, it's happened to me, and it's such a weird dynamic. And exactly what you guys said, it's like that little 1-2 encounter with people. It sometimes is a bit awkward because you want to be a nice person, you want to give them as much as you can, but they're nervous, you're nervous, you don't even know what to say. It's like, hey man, you're that guy from that. Yeah, that's me. Oh, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. How are you? Yeah, I'm good. How are you? It's like it's just like a random awkward conversation of like, I want to give value, but I don't even know what to say.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
And you don't want to look like you're asking for it either.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is the hardest part.
It's it's hard to describe. But
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I had that, and I was also 19, so I was still basically a kid, and it was great to get the audience and then do shows and have people recognize me. But I remember going out and there'd be kids who were partying and things, and I'd just get mobbed, and it was full on. It was actually it's surreal to look back at that and say that I experienced that.
But it's cool that you got like recognized for your craft as well, because you would probably put a lot of effort and work into that video, coming up with jokes. You probably since 15, like 4 years of trying to be funny, like learning, as you said before, the push-pull method, like all these ways to become funnier, and then all of a sudden people are actually validating all this work you put in. I think that's probably the coolest part. It's like I put so much effort into something and now it's paying off.
Validates
so
you.
cool. Yeah, it was nice to actually get to that point. And yeah, because I'd been making sketches since I was 15 in year 10, and I remember, do you guys remember the days of Facebook where there were groups? So one of the groups at my high school, so I had my page and would promote it and, you know, be the cringe guy marketing myself and whatever. And then one of the pages, this guy in high school, he actually is a friend. He was sort of bantering a little bit, but he was like, Neel Kolhatkar's new video is really funny. Lol, JK, they're all shit. And then that got more likes than my page.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, oh man, I've got to make it now. Just to
That's what you want,
spite this guy. But
Yeah.
nah, look, it was very validating to actually, I was very lucky. I got to do it full time because I was at uni, I dropped out. And I remember that I went to a uni lecture later that week and everyone's looking at me and
That's
it was just
crazy.
so, it
Yeah,
was
surreal.
actual overnight fame. So
Yeah, so we're from there.
So
like,
crazy.
You've had this viral
Yeah.
video. There's, opens up a whole new door of opportunity. You're probably thinking, oh, should I go into stand up? Should I start touring? Should I just post as many videos as I can? Like, what's your mindset? And then how did it evolve into the next step?
So I was already doing a lot of stand-up. I was doing the gigs
cool.
and things. And then now I had an audience that would come to the shows. So I was able to make money from it. And I was doing a lot of shows, I was doing it full time. So
What was the biggest audience you ever had?
the biggest audience I've ever had? The Enmore Theatre, I think I did, it was like 1,600 or something.
Wow, that's a lot.
So
Bro, imagine trying to
was
make
pretty
1,600
crazy.
people
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah,
you know the funny thing, the bigger the audience, sometimes it actually is easier
Oh,
because
really?
the
Yeah.
laughs travel more,
Yeah.
and it's
And laughing's
It
infectious.
just takes
Yeah,
a few people
yeah.
to resonate with your joke, and
Yeah.
people are followers. People will validate your comedy if someone else laughs. Like if I see Bayley laughing at you, I'm like, subconsciously, I'm like, oh, he must be funny. You know what I mean? I'm like, but if everyone's like stiff and like not enjoying it, I'll just do that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Do you plant people in the
Totally,
audience
yeah.
to sort of... No, I would do that.
Didn't you ask
just
us to
to
come to your
laugh?
show
Yeah,
tonight?
just
or?
to create the infection.
you can tell that I think
He paid us to,
You
to
paid
come
us
to
to,
the show
yeah.
tonight.
yeah. I mean, sure, if you guys want to come to the show tonight, you can laugh.
But you better laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in terms of a crowd, I've found that like when it's a bigger crowd, you can't see the faces so intimately. So you're not like so personally drawn to the
Exactly.
crowd, right? But if it's multiple just heads or dots, even it's like you're almost looking like at a screen, or at least that's how it feels sometimes, right?
Yeah, I find it, funnily enough, the smaller the crowd and the more you can see everyone. I kind of
Yeah.
find that like 20
more
people
intimidating.
who are just at a bar and you're not sure if they're going to laugh and things like that, that actually can be more intimidating. You see on their
Yeah.
faces them not laughing, whereas funnily enough, when it's 1,500, because they're there to see you, so they're already in
they're
a good
paid to
mood.
come
And
see you.
you have to be, it might sound weird, but I do think it's easier to perform to that
Yeah.
big audience that's there to see you, and the energy's infectious, and
Yeah.
you really don't. You can do a pretty average joke, and people
love
will
it.
laugh.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in those small crowds, so that's why I like to keep myself sharp by doing all the small crowds as much as I can.
Yeah,
I
if
go
you
to-
can make people laugh there,
yeah, I
you
go
got
to
it.
open mics all the time, and actually find that more rewarding when I'm like, oh, I've made these random 8 people who are half on the pokies.
Yeah.
Make them laugh. They don't even know me. I find that more rewarding because,
For sure.
oh wow, I've actually garnered their attention and they didn't know who I was and they've laughed. So yeah, I mean, I'd prefer to do the big crowd,
Of
but
course, yeah.
I think that's where, some stand-up comedians talk about it like the gym, basically. So
Right.
the good stand-up comedians are the ones who are constantly, I guess, working the muscle,
yeah.
Yeah,
going to the
definitely.
clubs and working on their set, working their material, every little word,
Yep.
the pauses, the way you deliver it, the order of the jokes, all of that stuff. And you can tell when someone doesn't do that. So there's a lot of people now who will maybe get an audience on social media and then they'll think, well, cool, I'll get some money by doing a live show. And then they're not really, they're still good, but they haven't done stand-up in the same way.
So
And
different.
no,
yeah.
very
kinda,
different.
you can kind of tell. And yeah, it's good. It's good if people are watching this. Like, if you want to see really good stand up, go to a club and then find the comedian that you like. Usually at a club there'll be a lineup of a bunch of different comedians. Find the one that you like the best. Follow them on social media, and go support them live because they're always the best. They might not
Yeah.
be the best
Yeah.
at social media, but they're always
Best
the
on-
best
yeah,
stand ups.
for sure.
Something I like to do personally with myself, obviously I'm not a stand-up comedian, and I know Jamie does this too, is just even in normal settings, I like to almost take the piss out of myself to break the ice. Maybe it's a first date, maybe you're meeting a new friend, whatever it is, in any new social interaction, even sometimes subconsciously, I like to just like, because people can be intimidated by you. They don't know who you are. They don't know if you're trying to put it on them, trying to be cooler than them. But as soon as you've, you know, taken a piss at yourself, put it on yourself, you've taken the weight out of the room.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, is that, you know, potentially a tool that you use in your comedy to break the ice? You know, whether it's taking the piss out of yourself or playing on your, you know, your culture or whatever it is to kind of just make the room a bit more comfortable.
100%, yeah. If you do the self-deprecating jokes, it makes people think, okay, good, this guy's comfortable enough to make fun of themselves. Usually I put a few jokes in there about being short or, you know, being brown or whatever it might be. And then it sort of gives you more license to be a bit more aggressive with the other topics and go hard and making fun of other things. So
obviously, as Chris said, like we've found it's really helped us in many social situations, and even on camera as well. It just, as you said, like it just decreases that emotional weight, and it's like, oh well, this person's actually just like me as well. I was going to ask, you know, obviously we've spoken a lot about your come up and your story and all these amazing things that have happened in your life. I think like practically, like what does it take to make a joke that lands? Like obviously there's a fine line between being funny and being cringe. An example is, just from my own life, is you guys might remember, and the viewers out there, I made a sex noise at the Australian Open in 2018. And as you said, right?
I think that's when I first saw your stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people saw him after that.
Actually, no, we met before that. I think it was in 2016. Anyway, I remember thinking to myself, okay, how do I do this? And by the way, I'm not encouraging you guys out there to do this just because I did. I'd never do it again either. But I remember before I actually did this, as much as it wasn't a joke or like a verbal thing that I was doing, it was still a piece of comedy that I wanted to make sure landed. And I remember I was literally in the shower. I was living in Melbourne during the time, and I was in the shower and I was practicing the noise. Like it was a simple, I don't even want to do it because it's the old.
So you're making sex noises in the shower
by myself,
Did you live with anyone?
And his mum was probably like, I'm just gonna let him have his alone time.
But my point is, I had to
You
do
definitely perfected that well. It was a good noise.
That's what I mean. Because this is the thing, right?
A lot of hours in the shower.
And look, I don't mind. It's my past. We can overlay the video so you guys know what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah!
However, what I want to say is this. With that particular noise, I went into so much time and effort to make sure that the noise wasn't going to be... It was cringe to some people, but like at least it landed. And what I had to do was I had to figure out the timing, the tone, like how many 12s I'd do, like every single intricate bit to make sure that it went from a place of like, oh, this guy's just like, you know, having a joke with himself and trying too hard to then, whoa, this guy has some serious balls and that's why I like this video.
So much goes behind it.
So much goes on.
People don't realize.
And I remember I go to myself, this is like, it's all in or nothing. Like I have to do this for literally 30 seconds. If I do it for 20, 25, it won't work. It has to be the 30. And if I don't do every single part of it, it won't land. So in your case, like how do you make sure your jokes land? Because they definitely do. And what goes into it?
So like I was saying, when you do the open mics, the smaller gigs, that's where you're basically practicing. So you're working out, all right, where are the laughs? How do I deliver this joke? Do I deliver it in a more aggressive way? Do I deliver it in a more, you know, softly spoken way? And you just refine all the little aspects. So the delivery, the timing, even just the volume, how loudly you say it. Yeah. Are you smiling when you say it, or are you more passionate? All these little things, you just refine all those little things in the clubs, and then, so that's like my shower. So yeah, that's where I'm trying it all. And even at my place, I'll rehearse and you know, just go over it in my mind. And I probably look like a psycho as well, because like after a gig, I'll often come back and rehearse my jokes myself again and just think, oh, could I have said this differently? Could I have done it differently?
Yours is probably a bit less sus than Jamie's though.
I don't know, man. I've got
Have you seen the guys' videos?
If you live near me, I'd be coming home at 11:30 at night being like, oh my God, luckily, and then like, then I'll do this voice and that. And so you just hear this
Lebo to
random
junkie.
guy.
They think there's 6 people in your house. Your neighbour's like, why do you have always 6, like an Indian and a Wog, a bogan
Sure you don't
in
just
his
have
house
bipolar or something?
every night?
Yeah, literally. There's a share house there with every ethnicity in Australia. And so, just basically exactly what you do, just always refining and rehearsing and practicing. That's how you can give them the best chance to land. And then it's always audience dependent, you know. sometimes I'll perform to a crowd that might not get the references, or they might not. We're so culturally divided now. I find if you're not on social media, so if you're in the older generation, a lot of my references just don't land. So
makes sense, yeah.
like jokes about Ben Shapiro or like TikTok trends and things like that. And then I'm realizing, oh wait, everyone here is
Old.
55. They don't know who these people are. So yeah, there's a lot of little factors that go into it. But the big one is just like, it's just practicing it, refining it, and doing it to a small audience. If you can make the small audience laugh, you can make the big audience laugh.
And guys, before we continue, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Getaways.
The boys and I are blessed to be partnering up with Getaways, who have some of the most amazing short-term accommodation in the country.
Whatever the occasion, whether it's a cheeky boys trip away or you want to surprise your partner with a holiday, Getaways has got you covered.
And guys, go ahead and check out Getaways on their website or on their social media platforms. We'll be leaving the link in the description below. And without further ado, let's jump straight back into the episode. So obviously you prepare a show for a certain period of time and you go, to different places and perform. Do you always do pretty much the exact same show? Does like, I know you said there's little changes in how you deliver, but do you take a joke out? Is it always pretty much the same, like say
Structure.
10 jokes, the same, like do you lead them this exact same way? Do you laugh? Like, does it get awkward that you have to like do your own laugh to each joke 10 times? You know how singers will sing the same song and do the same concept pretty much throughout the world. Do you have that as well? Is it pretty much the same, or you kind of change it depending on where you are?
It's mostly the same. You might do a few jokes that are related to the city. So if I'm in Melbourne, Perth, or whatever, I'll do a few little references to the city there. But otherwise, it's 97% the same.
Is that hard? Does it get repetitive? Like, is it?
It's just like any kind of, like, if you perform in a theatre play or if you're doing a concert, it's just
of course.
Yeah, but your like micro references dependent on cities are pretty good. Like you've done, accents from Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, like suburb dependent. I've actually found that when you make videos on like suburbs, they go crazy because they're so emotionally invested in the suburb they live in versus like just a global topic. And I've seen you do that a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Well, I guess it started with Australian 2 minutes, and every year I've done all the capital cities now, so I got to start.
You have actually.
I got to do like Newcastle or something now. There's nothing left for me to do. So
like we did like the most dangerous area in capital city and the most expensive area in capital city, and we're done as well. Like we've got to now go to as you said, Newcastle or freaking Wagga Wagga or something.
Yeah, I mean, why not? You may as well, right? Because that's a good way to just target that audience. But it's also just I do a lot of research on those. I'll go on Reddit and I'll ask people who are from that city and try to like those little videos, just like every line, have a good pacing where you start off with a sort of moderate impression and then have a really high intense one and then
so what actually goes into a show? I'm super curious. Let's say like you're starting from scratch, someone's getting into comedy. What's your thought process? Obviously, you said, you might look through Reddit for localized things. What's your process for building this joke by joke? Like you said, you might have a low joke material, and then maybe like a bit of an intense one. Like, how do you structure it? And are there any secrets that go into that the normal person listening might not know?
So are we talking about stand-up comedy or just...
Yeah, let's go stand-up.
Stand-up. So if the first thing you'd always want to do as a stand-up is develop a 5-minute set. That's always I guess, your training wheels for stand-up. So you do that by going to open mics, and you probably good to just watch a few comedians. And then you got to eventually just get up and try it. There's there's a few courses. I'm not a fan of the courses, to be honest. I think you got to just go out there and try it, and then
find your own style, Because
it takes
everyone's
years.
so different.
And it often takes years to find your authentic comedy voice. And you just got to be patient and keep going at it. And the people who really want it, you can tell because they'll be on stage and they'll bomb, so they'll no one will be laughing. And then if you really want it, you'll keep going back, and you'll think, "No, I'm going to get them next time."
It's such an art because think about it, all the most famous, like you, and then you got like Dave Chappelle and like Kevin Hart, all these guys, someone else could say their exact set with the same tone, the same pauses, the same laughs, the same audience, and it'll flop. Like I'm
Yeah,
guarantee if I
100%.
said Kevin Hart set, everyone would think I'm a tosser.
Yeah, because you're white.
But you're white.
Especially the N words, yeah.
So that's you know what I mean? Like
factor.
it's
I think another like funny, like 100%.
It's
Yeah,
so-
don't copy. But like I think like say if Kevin Hart or Eddie Murphy did the same set, they'd probably pull it off. You spoke about flopping before, so I want to kind of unpack that. I want to know, like, obviously you've been a comedian for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
Do you have like one, and I'm sure you've got more than one, but do you have one instant that you were like was the ultimate fail, where like you got on stage, no one laughed, it was awkward, you felt uncomfortable? Like, was there one that, and also before you answer, how did you manage it?
Yeah, there's a few that come to mind. So really early on, when I'd won that competition, I was still 15, and I performed at this talent show because I was doing these acting classes, and so they were like, "You do stand up, go do this talent show." And my stand up, even at 15, I'd do dirty jokes and a bit of inappropriate stuff, and then unbeknownst to me, this was a talent show for kids. And no one told me this. And so there's this 5-year-old playing the flute, and I have to follow this 5-year-old playing the flute.
With your
And
sexual
then
jokes.
with my for a 15-year-old, it was sort of like naughty type of jokes. And then, they hated it, man. It was...
well, so you just
Were the
ran
parents
with it. You
there?
were like,
Well,
I gotta do it.
when the audience really isn't going with me, so this is a bit toxic, I guess, but I start being like, "Oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you guys are dumb." And all this
Gaslighting the
stuff.
audience.
Yeah, and then the host had to come and apologize. It was horrible, man.
After you
To
said-
to you or the people?
To the people after me, and then I had to perform later in this play, and so yeah, it was just like I don't know. I gave myself a narrative. I think of like, they were dumb. They didn't get me. But no, that was on me. I didn't prepare properly for that gig, and I shouldn't have done it.
I think we touched on this before, but like, when do you know when to tell a joke to keep a straight face or when to laugh at yourself as well? Because you do see some comedians on stage, they're like very straight faced, but they know it's going to land, versus you see some laugh. I think, I guess, what I used to do with pranks and stuff was very different, but has some similarities. And I just remember thinking like, okay, if I say this joke, I have to be straight faced because the joke, just the weight of the joke suits a more serious tone. Whereas others, if it's say, you said this to me the other day, you're like, "Oh, I like when you say a joke and then you try and hold yourself back from laughing or something." Is that what you said?
Yeah, you always do that.
Yeah.
He does a little smirk.
Yeah. So like, how do you know when to kind of like taper between the three or the however many there are?
I think it just depends on the sort of delivery you're going with. So some of the British comedians, for example, they're very witty and they like to sort of be there. It's a vibe of not I'm in charge, but I'm the smart comedian, and you're going to laugh at my jokes. And I was walking down the street the other day, and I had a mic in my face, and I thought, "Oh, Mike, you're looking big," or whatever. I don't know, something like that. And then
was
that's
improv.
sort of one where, you'd probably with that sort of cadence and delivery, you wouldn't want to laugh. But I like to smile a lot of my jokes, and I like to just create an atmosphere that's very friendly and jovial. So I'll just smile at my jokes, and I'll try to smile on stage. And some comedians are very straight faced. For
sure.
Hear my jokes. I'm the harsh comedian and things like that. I'll do harsh jokes, but I do it with a smile. So I think it's just dependent upon the comedian and what they want to do and the aura they want to convey.
For sure. And you do improv, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I think improv is a undervalued art in this country because in
yeah.
America there's improv shows everywhere, and a lot of the good comedy actors started off in improv.
What's that show?
Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Whose Line Is
That's
It?
a
Bro,
big
I
one,
used to
yeah.
watch that every
They're
single
so
day.
good, and
It
they're
is freaking. If you haven't watched it, go
What's it
watch
called?
it. Whose Line Is It Anyway? There's these
Oh, I've heard
mainly
that one.
3 or 4 guys, and the whole thing is improv, and they have like little scenarios and games and whatever. And there's 3 chairs, and then it'll be like, give an example. Like it'll be like they'll say like a setting, they'll frame it, and then they'll all come in and just improv the actual act, and it's just like I can't even give credit to how good it is from what I'm saying.
It's brilliant.
It's so amazing.
They're the masters of that craft, and when you see good improv, it's unbelievably
I actually
fascinating and interesting to watch. The thing is, in Australia, there's just not a lot of opportunities, and I don't know, for whatever reason, a lot of the people who start out doing improv just kind of make it lame. I don't know why. I gotta be honest, but a lot of people don't like improv, or like I think I've seen a few people on TikTok make fun of the improv troupe, and they're in their fedoras and this kind of thing. I don't know why they like that, but yeah, I wish there was more improv. I've got one improv special on my on my YouTube. I used to do it with a friend of mine in high school, and we even had a little business teaching high school kids improv, and we're doing that for a while, and it was really enjoyable. So I think improv is so much fun, and, it's actually
so
it'll develop your confidence more than comedy actually, because you got to come up with a character and you got to come up with a story, and if you can do that naturally,
On the
it's
spot.
such a good skill.
Same.
So my church pastor, he's a freestyle rapper.
Oh wow!
And it's crazy because I witness him just like rap about, it's mainly about God and stuff, but it's so cool just seeing him, and I'm just like, how is this guy's brain working? Like he gets given 3 words and he can just bang, like just punch them every single word.
On the fly
I have a
is
bit of a
amazing.
challenge for you, Neil. Since you're a
I'm
comedian,
not a freestyle rapper though. So.
Yeah, give us a rap.
can you improv, like give, like almost like tell it,
Something, yeah.
give us, how am I trying to say this? Like put it on us in terms of like tell a joke about us individually.
Jokes are hard to improvise, man. Like I'll do
whatever
a
you
character,
can.
Like, whatever-
but,
whatever
Do
you
some
can.
form of improv.
Yeah,
Improv
some
if
form
you
of
can,
improv.
using the current setting. Like, I
But
know you did the mic
improv
joke,
is
but-
character based. So like, what do you? Okay, so it would be like
need to give you a
do
character.
improv at Milson's Point or something like that, and I'll be
yeah.
like an Asian tourist. Then that my mind goes to that. Be like,
Okay.
oh, the bridge. I'm gonna jump off the bridge, right? I'm gonna jump off the bridge. No, you can't jump off the bridge. I'm gonna jump.
That was
Oh,
you making a joke about me, right?
Of course,
Alright, so
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
done.
yeah.
How about these two?
That's Jamie on the.
He just puts the wog voice.
And then,
"Oh,
yeah,
cuz."
brother, jump, go on, do it. I bet you can't.
And then no,
And
dude,
then Bayley.
the surf there, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, what do you mean you can't swim? I grew up, I came out of the womb just swimming 100 meters. Hey? Like, that's always my white voice. It's just like a surfy, hey. So improv I can do on the spot. Jokes are a bit harder to do. I like to, have a bit of time to write them and things
Sure,
like
sure,
that.
You got a show tonight, right?
Yeah.
Is there any that you want to test on us? Or
They're all pre-prepared ones. So I tested the Greek and Indian one. That one is
That one landed.
is a good one. Any others that I want to... So like a one I tested 2 nights ago that actually didn't work well. So this can happen sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So I was just trying to think of like, I was trying to do a joke about baby boomers and older Australians, and I'm like, the difference between, I guess, baby boomers and other groups that are maybe more fortunate is that like what you see with fortunate groups is then there'll often be people advocating for the less fortunate. So like, I guess with white people, there's so many people that are like social justice warriors and marching for Black Lives Matter. But can you ever imagine baby boomers marching for millennial houses matter? Like, that would never happen, right? And so like you guys after that, which is good, but like they didn't laugh at it on Wednesday. So
Funny, we obviously in this episode we've countless times, at least 2 or 3 times, we've put you on the spot, right, to say a joke, and I want to touch on that because obviously, depending on your field, people will kind of associate you only with what you do.
yeah.
And again, coming back to Jamie, I've seen this, and I'm sure you can talk to us about this. But obviously, early on, Jamie was all about pranks, comedy, and mate, we would go out, and obviously, a lot of people would know him, and it was almost like I would have friends that I would know, and they didn't know, like they knew Jamie, but they didn't know him, and then I'll introduce them, and they'll be like, "Hey Jamie, it's like press the monkey's button. It's like, Jamie, do something funny." like, and he's like, just obviously he's not always on character. He's not every second of every day trying to be a funny comedian, right? So, but I would see it secondhand, and I'd be like, I'd feel uncomfortable for him because it was literally like, "Haha, Jamie's a funny guy. Say something funny. Say something funny. Like press the button." It's like, bro, he's not just a robot that just. It's just like you press a button and he says a joke, and so I know how uncomfortable that would have been because he's like, I'm just a normal person. Like just breathe, And I'm sure with you being a comedian, like similar to what we just did. Obviously, we're trying to do it for the podcast, but in your day to day on the street or whatever, people were like, "Oi, Neel, say a funny joke, say a funny joke." Like, is that something you just get all the time? They think you're just a joke machine, essentially.
Yeah, it happens. It happens occasionally, not all the time. Mostly, people are very respectful when they come up to you and they just ask for a photo and just say, "Hey, I love your content" and things like that. And I really appreciate that. But yeah, occasionally you get someone that's like just puts a phone in your face, like, "Go be funny, be funny. Why aren't you funny?" And you're like, "Oh my god, Dad, I just woke up." No, there's a joke. All right, put it up. Yeah, it's a bit annoying, but Yeah, it's pretty rare. Like most people are pretty good with that. And
That's good.
The funniest story ever though is like, because often I get people, because when I was doing a lot of the Westie impressions and stuff, people would just yell those at me.
Yeah.
And from a car, I'm like, yeah, man, this guy, yeah, what are you looking at, bro? And stuff like that.
Yeah.
And once a guy was saying something like that to me. He was just on the street doing something. He's like, hey, what are you looking at, cuz? And then I just thought, I was like, yeah, what are you looking at, cuz? Like, I thought he was recognizing me. And he dropped what he was doing. He's like, you wanna fight me right now, huh? And I thought, is he still committed to this? Like, is he still
He's still
riffing
going with the
me? And
joke.
I'm like, yeah, do you want a photo or what? Like, I said that like an idiot. And then it hit me, and he's like, oh, you better walk away. You better walk away.
You're like, that's
dog."
not in my script.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, don't worry. And then as I was walking away, I'm like, oh, that wasn't.
He didn't recognize me from my videos.
He was actually that.
Oh my
So
God.
that's the one time where I'm like, oh, I got this wrong. But yeah, no, usually everyone who comes up is really respectful and
That's good.
understands that, that I'm not just a jester that can
Yeah.
be funny on the spot. And sometimes they'll say, oh, can you do a video for my brother or my sister?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of how you get your material, and I think everyone kind of does it. It's just like, okay, like we're making a piece of content. What sort of a message do we want to get across to the audience for whatever reason? Do you like, how is your comedy, politically motivated, or like, are you sometimes trying to showcase what you believe about life into humor, or is it purely just for comedy, or how do you sort of weave those two in together?
It's a combination of all of them. I think mostly I'm just trying to make people laugh. That should be the priority for comedians, because when you see a few comedians now that are more about the message than the laughter, and it's a bit cringe, to be honest.
Yeah.
I went through a phase where it was a bit like that, and I look
Yeah.
back on it now.
Because the world's pretty fried, so it's like at least you have an outlet to do so.
But I think there's enough people who are commentating who are very well educated and have PhDs at it. Although then again, Ray Gunn had a PhD, so I don't know if that means anything. But everything's political now.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say comedians should not be political. Well, it's very hard not to, because no matter what you make fun of, someone is gonna find a political angle for that. And I came up in the arts industry, and
You went to Fort Street, right?
no, I went to Caringbah High School. So it's one in the Shire.
Fort Street. Okay.
Yeah, it's similar to Fort Street, I guess, just more shirey.
Yeah, less Asians.
And I grew up where I felt like the left probably was quite authoritarian with what they were doing to the arts, and that was the ubiquitous ideology in the circles I operated in. So I saw the excesses of it, and I just thought this was quite laughable, and I want to make fun of this. And it's a bit hard to do that in the arts industry, because then they ostracize you a little bit, but I like to think if you're good enough, you'll still get the respect.
Definitely.
And now it's changed actually. In the mid 2010s, it was very very strict about what you could say and what you couldn't say. And now with people like Dave Chappelle and other comedians who are
they've
just,
kind of broken the ice for the
they've
industry.
broken it a little bit. It's still divided, unfortunately, which I don't like. So there's certain rooms there's comedy rooms where this is a woke left wing room, or this is a more not sort of right, was a more bogan room or whatever. And I like to think if you're good, you can perform to any audience. So I actually try to go to the really progressive rooms, and I'm like, I want to make them laugh. I want to have good enough jokes that all these people in Newtown with their different hair will laugh at me. And then at the same time, put me in a country pub in the middle of Queensland.
Yeah.
And I hope I
Same
can make
thing.
them laugh too. Like I don't want to limit myself to a certain political audience. And I'd say on my online content, I probably skew more into making fun of the left, but I just think it's more
Definitely.
It's
Definitely
just
do.
more. It's just more out there, and there's so many comedians that have made fun of the right. And in the 2000s, there was Ricky Gervais did a lot about Christianity and the right, and I feel like it's just been done. It's not like I would not do it, but I think it's been done, and I think I try to do something that's just whatever's relevant for the time.
I think looking at a lot of comedians, because I'm myself really into stand-up comedy. I've watched it since I was like 10. Like I think, as you said, it's an artwork. It's so amazing for someone to lead you into a joke and make you laugh and just get you to think certain ways. And one thing I've seen from a lot of the top comedians who have done interviews and have spoken, have said, unfortunately, in the current climate of the world, and you can attest to this, is we live in a snowflake society, right? So a lot of the time when comedians used to do their best shows, the funniest lines, they did make fun of a certain kind of people, whether it's race, whether it was what sex they're into, whether it's like, you know, LGBT jokes, race jokes, short jokes, whatever it is, like it's nothing specifically targeted towards someone. They might be Indian and making fun of Indians. They might be black making fun of whatever it is. And I feel like a lot of them have said now they almost don't want to do stand-up comedy because everything they say can get them cancelled. And the freedom to just do their craft has somewhat been limited now. Have you found that as well?
I do think that's certainly relevant, but I'd say it peaked in the 2010s and now it's starting to dissipate and it's starting to go down.
Really? Cool.
And there's always going to be, I think what's happened is social media just gave voice to everyone and anyone.
Yeah.
And in 2005, if there were people who were watching someone who were offended, they didn't have access to tell that person.
Yeah.
And now, because of social media, you can tweet at them, you can message
true,
them. So
yeah.
it feels like, oh, these people are offended and upset. But yeah, look, it definitely, it has changed. But I like to think it's turning a corner. And there's so many other issues in the world that people are more concerned about. We might even have World War III that hopefully people are more concerned with that than whether
You'll
or
be
not
the first to make jokes about
comedian-
that, surely.
What's that?
You'll be the first to make jokes about
Oh
World War
yeah,
III.
I've already got them planned. They're ready to go.
That's so good.
You know,
Do you think that almost helps though? Because I'm just thinking the other
world's
side.
too
like,
serious, bro.
If
It is.
The world's
if
too
the world
serious.
is snowflake, right? That almost makes the jokes land even harder because what makes it funny is like, oh, I wouldn't be able to say it. Like,
Exactly.
it
There's
makes
a bit
people
of
feel
that,
uncomfortable to
yeah.
the point where it's like it's so funny.
And like-
whereas like if everyone's super snowflake, it's almost like if you say something that's slightly edgy, everyone's like, whoa, I can't
Yeah.
believe you said that.
So savage.
Yeah, like
Even
that's
like
what-
looking
like
back
that,
on my
yeah.
old videos, and I'm sure you do this as well, it's like, whoa, like how come I could have said that back then and I can't now?
Yeah.
Like, it's a
Yeah.
whole different dynamic of the world. But I just
Get
think,
more
yeah,
cut through.
people are just so like just sensitive over everything. And I
So
think that the
sensitive.
political agenda is to make people extra sensitive to things as well, where it's like, oh, well, now I'm hurt
I'm
by this,
offended
and
at
now
everything.
I'm offended, and now I'm weak. And look, I personally think there's a massive agenda to it to make everyone snowflakes. But I just think like, bro, just loosen up. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, there's probably a lot of undiagnosed anxiety people have. And when
Yeah.
you're an anxious person, you don't feel in control of your life. You want to control everything else.
Yeah.
I think if you sort of solve that and give people meaning in their lives, then they're not fussed about a joke that even if it is attacking them or their community, they're not too fussed about it. And I
Don't
do
take-
think it's
don't take it
turning around. I
personally.
do think it's turning
That's
around
good.
actually.
Yeah,
But
yeah, interesting.
what the bad thing with that is also what's happened is, yeah, there's such an appetite now for inappropriate jokes or jokes that do push the boundary that it's allowed comedians to not necessarily. I like clever jokes. I like jokes that are
Yeah.
really smart and are well crafted and delivered well. And now a lot of people just want a rough joke, regardless of whether it's clever
Degenerate,
or
do
not.
you mean?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
I think now
degenerate.
you get a bit of both. You get the super sensitive comedy, but then you get the rough comedy with no intelligence to it. And I think I wish people were just more comfortable laughing at some of the inappropriate topics, but also
Yeah.
understanding when it's a joke that I think if it's a joke that you could hear someone at a pub say, I think as a professional comedian, you probably should be a bit better than that.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I just think I hope that changes. Where there is a lot of people. There's it's harder to get away with certain things, but then also there are certain things where you're getting away with it, but then it wasn't. It was just because it was edgy rather than because it was like really
Exactly.
funny or
And
clever.
you're right.
It's just a complicated time, but I think a good comedian, hopefully, I try not to focus on that, and I try to focus on these are my jokes. I want them to be clever. I want them to be edgy, but in a smart way, and I want to be able to perform to right-wing audiences, to left-wing
Yeah.
audience, to old audience,
Yeah.
to young audience, whatever. I just want to focus on myself and whatever. If I get, I mean, I'm not on anything, so I can't get cancelled. So
There
I
is
don't know
a
what could
difference.
happen,
There is
so.
a difference because your jokes are very highly intelligent. That's why I said that in the intro. But I think once you go like too degenerate, it's just like a cop out. It's like you don't have to be
I agree,
talented
man.
at all.
Yeah,
You can
it's-
just say the most, as you said, rough thing that possibly comes to your mind, and it might land. An example of this is when I was living in LA back in 2019. I went to a improv school called Groundings.
Oh, cool.
It's a really prestigious school. I didn't get in or anything. I just went for like an improv session there, just a training course. And I remember we had to do improv in front of the class, and I was the only Aussie out of all these Americans there.
Oh, yeah.
And because I had no training in, proper intelligent jokes, my whole brand was basically just making fun of myself and more action-based stuff. I just went in with the complete degenerate humor, like the most I could possibly imagine.
What
And
did you
I
say?
thought just everything was about sex, essentially, just everything.
I've got a
Just
small-
condoms. I got a small this. You know what I mean. And I just remember thinking, oh, I'm so funny. These guys are surely going to laugh. Because back in Australia, they might have, but the room just went silent. So I had like an extension of what you had when you were 15, but I couldn't get myself out of it
So
because
rough, yeah.
it was full of like guys in LA at the top of their field. And I remember, oh, well, maybe I should actually try and craft these jokes somewhat more intelligently than I have, just coming in here blindsided and just saying the first dirty joke that comes to mind. So you're so right. It's almost like a cop-out if you're going to go down those two extreme routes. And I think with your comedy, why we're such big fans is because we can tell it's well thought out. You're hitting the right marks and you're landing every single joke, but it's also got a message behind it.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. And yeah, I would encourage other people, even if they don't like me or like what I do, go and watch comedians that aren't just opinionated one way or the other. And go and see the comedians who aren't relying on that, because they're usually at the core of the art form. They're better at the craft itself, and they're not just, because sometimes now on Netflix or whatever, Hannah, like, I don't want to name individual comedians, but there's comedians who just say an opinion and the audience claps.
Yeah.
And you think, well, where's the joke?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
easy. That's easy. Anyone could do that. I could get on stage and say something everyone agrees with. So I think people should be wary of that, because it's just an easy way to get a bit of attention in the algorithm today. So I would encourage people who want to be comedy fans and want to support the art form, support people who aren't one way or the other.
Yeah.
Try to support people who are just in the middle.
And if people want to, either get funny or get into stand-up comedy, what would you suggest is like the best route to be getting to the stage where you're doing your own shows and things? Because like, I've never really been exposed to this field. Like, if I wanted to become a comedian, what's the approach and what's the pathway? Do you start just doing stand-ups? Should you post on social media? What do you think gets the quickest cut through?
If you're just doing stand-up, I would say usually each capital city has an open mic scene, and there's usually a Facebook group or a website that will tell you all the open mics. Just start going to them. Just start going to them.
They'll let anyone kind of jump
the
up?
first few times you might not want to actually perform. You just want to watch it
listen.
and then have a chat to some people and just talk to,
Just network.
see what they're doing, and then basically network, and then usually some of them are sign up on the night, so you can just put your name down and they'll draw.
That's crazy.
If you're lucky, you'll get on, and then you just got to do it.
And how do you make-
it's a funny field because there's not really a course or a
It's kind of your
way to
own
do
art.
it.
It's like
You
an
just-
art form,
Yeah,
right?
you just got to go and do it, which I like about that, but it's the Wild West. There's no real one
literally.
way to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like being a music artist in a way. Like, you
Yeah.
just got to build a name for yourself, and then one day a label might pick you up, or you do your own
Literally,
show.
and-
It's kind of
and
the same
anyone can
thing.
do it,
Or
so-
even an artist. Like,
Yeah.
you could spend 10 years making art and no one ever buys a piece, and then something blows up, and then all of a sudden you're selling pieces for $100,000.
Literally, yeah.
What's just quickly, one more thing, like, what's the best route in comedy to make money? Like, what type of comedian
That was my question. And how much money can you make as a comedian as
Well, if you're at the real top, you're Schultz and Chappelle.
Dave
They're
Chappelle would be making-
multi-million.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're on like $100 million
Huge amounts of money.
contracts and Netflix and things, right?
Yeah. So they're making a lot of money. So yeah, if you're in America, then you just, you get your own audience, but then also you do deals with Netflix. You could do a deal with, you do movies, you do, I don't think they probably don't
Can
need
you
to
get
do
into movies
brand
being
deals.
a comedian? Is that kind of like a common
You
crossover?
used to be able to. Now they just don't make any comedy movies anymore.
Yeah,
so
that's
I don't
true.
know where the comedy movies are. I'd love to still do them, but
Yeah.
point, yeah.
And then what's the tier below that? Like,
So,
Doing national
let's just
tours?
say, in Australia, touring is probably the biggest way that stand-up comedians will make an income. And then they'll just get other things on the side, like maybe a successful podcast or there's a lot of corporate gigs that you can do that they're usually not fun, but they pay really well. So, the Commonwealth Bank will do their Christmas party and say, we want a comedian, and they pay like
Okay.
insane amounts of money.
Really?
So
Yeah, that's
a lot of
interesting,
the
actually.
bigger comedians in Australia.
Who's the biggest right now, would you say?
Me.
Apart from you.
Physically, yeah, but yeah, we're pretty skinny in comedy. So, in Australia, it's probably still Carl Barron, to be honest. He
Really?
sells
He's still
extremely
here?
well.
He's so funny.
Yeah,
He's
he's
so
so
good.
funny, and just everyone knows him. And he sells really. Someone
He's
like
so unique.
Arndo sells really well.
Oh,
Kitty
yeah.
Flanagan.
It's all the OG guys.
Yeah, but then Luke Kidgel is selling extremely well. I've
seen,
So
yeah.
of the younger crew, Luke is selling theatres in country towns and things like that. So he's very big.
How about Isaac Butterfield? Is he doing well?
He's doing pretty well as well.
Yeah,
He's
I've
still
spoken to him a
selling
few
big
times.
theatres and things like that. Yeah. So
Frenchie was doing all right as well. Wasn't
Frenchie,
Frenchie's
yeah.
been so consistent for
Yeah.
so long, and he still sells
He
really
does
well.
like skits and stuff
So
too,
you,
though.
you, you often have like a little peak where you're for 3-4 years you're selling massive, and then you'll go down a little bit, which is natural, and
Yep.
then you'll just stay usually somewhere there for the rest of your career. And so, yeah, those guys, Luke, Isaac, I think Friendly Geordie still sells. He does a bit of stand up and then does sort of a bit of other like multimedia type of comedy show as well, and. Yeah,
like,
they're all probably
do you
the
usually get
biggest.
into merch and things as well? Is that what they usually try and like expand their revenue structure, or is it more
but
so?
all those little things that can be part of the
Yeah.
cash flow, merch and brand deals if you want to do them, and Patreons and if you're on social media, that sort of stuff, and corporates and then just gigs around the place. So if you're doing like the comedy, if you do a big comedy club and you're hosting, they'll give you a fair bit of money. But then you don't want to burn out your audience. You want them to come to your solo show. It's a complicated one, but there's ways to like live performing and live shows is a good way to do it now. In fact, I've tried to pivot more towards that because I just think social media is becoming so clustered, and I think it's actually getting harder. I mean, there's more brand deals and things. I don't know if you guys could relate, but it's now you're competing with so many people.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
Like when I
definitely.
started, it was like 5.
Yeah.
And
It's
now
so
there's 5
saturated.
every day popping up.
Yeah,
so
literally.
I'm trying to just focus purely on the stand up and make that the main kind of thing. And
Amazing.
that's usually where, you'd make most of your money.
Before we end, what we do with all our guests is we ask them if they can provide 3 kind of
Like practical tips.
tips that the people watching at home could take away and use straight away. Something, it could be with comedy, it could be with mentality, just the 3 things that you think that they could get value from, that you can teach them from what you've learned in your career.
It'll probably just be pretty simple stuff, but I think the simple stuff is important. So practice makes perfect. You got to just be whatever it is that you want to do. But if you're talking about comedy as well, people get into comedy because they think it's an easy lifestyle. Oh, I just got to do nothing throughout the day, then get to perform at night. Well, the people who are really hustling and working and refining the material, they're the ones that are going to get ahead. What is the thing they always say? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, and I think that's exactly the same in comedy.
Yeah.
You got to do that. Being patient. I wanted success and everything really early, and when I was really young, and I did get success, but I think I really got to where I wanted to be, and the sort of comedian I wanted to be a lot later in my 20s. And
Yeah, that's good.
so just being patient and not rushing it. And, it's not going to happen in a year. I mean, it might, but you're going to be at your best in 5, 6, 7, 8, nearly 10 years. So just being patient. The third thing, don't be afraid to take risks. That's just it's a classic, but I think you got to go with your gut and what you find funny, because if you're just copying what you see on TV or what you see other comedians are doing, you end up just being a generic version of another comedian.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
even if you're if you're unsure about a certain joke or a certain topic, just go with it.
Just send it.
Yeah, just send it. Just see how it goes, and
Nice, man.
it's the worst that could happen. I guess the worst that could happen is you get bashed or cancelled. But
It's not that bad.
You might.
alright.
What are you looking at, brother?
You might,
Yeah.
You might make some people laugh.
you might
Yeah.
staunch a Lebo guy in the street and say, "Yeah, fight me."
exactly,
And then
I've
misinterpret it.
I've had it all, so I'm still standing.
Amazing,
Yeah.
bro.
Love
Yeah.
it, bro. Perfect way to wrap it up.
Thank you for jumping on, man. And
Man, thanks
if
for
the
having
viewers
me. That
want
was
to
a
check
lot
out
of
your
fun.
stuff, where can they find you?
NeelKolhatkar.com, the website. So NEEL, the first name, Kolhatkar, KOLHATKAR, the last name, and then all my social medias are just my name.
Yep.
And I've got a tour coming up in Australia. I'm doing London in 2 weeks, September 8th, and then
Congrats.
I've got all the major Australian cities through October and November, and it's all my new material. So
Awesome.
Awesome.
Bro.
Cool.
yeah,
We'll have to be there
come
and hear
along.
it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome, bro. Thanks
Thanks,
for the,
bro.
thanks for
Thank
the
you.
chat.
Thanks for having
Appreciate it,
me.
man. Thank you.